Hello again, everyone. Welcome back. In this technical analysis of the stock market video, I'm going to focus on retail sales this week. We're going to take a look at XRT, the S&P 500 retail sales component, and then take a look at three major retailers, Amazon, Walmart, and Costco. But first, let's start off here with the side-by-side view of the industrials, the SPX, and the NASDAQ 100. The Dow was up 243 points, but it was an inside the range of the prior week kind of move. Inside slightly up type move in here, which seems like it's just kind of compressing right now. It's still trending higher. The S&P 500 had a little bit of a breakout when you start looking at the daily charts in here. It was up 88.6. So right now, it too is continuing the trend to the upside. We've had 5 weeks in a row above the 10-week moving average. The NASDAQ 100, the strongest mover of the major indices I watch on a regular basis, and this was up 623 points for the week. Nice big move. I think it's it's breaking out now, and I think it's pretty much in sync with the S&P 500 in my expectations for higher prices to come here. So we'll see how that plays out. But first of all, I want to share what happened yesterday with the retail sales. So U.S. retail sales declined by the most in nearly 2 years. This is from a Bloomberg article that Jesse Felder posted about yesterday. And you could see the drop that occurred. And the other thing that when you look at this blue line, which is a change in the control group sales month over month, that was pretty significant. And so if you go down here in the small print, it excludes, the control group excludes food services, auto dealers, building material stores, gasoline stations, but it feeds directly into the government's calculation of goods spending for GDP. So that's kind of interesting. So this is going to have a direct impact into GDP calculations for Q1. Okay, so that got everybody's attention yesterday. So what is XRT doing? So here's the S&P 500 XRT retail sales sector, ETF. And this is a weekly view. So what I'm showing is the COVID crash low, the peak in prices, which occurred in 2021, actually November of 2021, and it was 4 times the COVID crash low in terms of price. Pretty dramatic, and it all occurred in about a year and a half. Okay, and then since then, had the big decline in 22, like just about everything did. But there's been hardly any rally. There are no gains. We've not been able to surpass. We're actually sitting at the close this week at about almost 24% below that 2021 high. Now, it's still significant gains compared to the COVID crash low, but not much of a performance since November of 21. Kind of interesting. So let's take a look at some of the big boys that aren't, first of all, let me show you who's in XRT. So when I say I want to show you the big boys, because the big boys aren't in XRT, at least not in the top 10, let's put it that way. Here you got Chewy, Warby Parker, so that's pet oriented, right? And here's glasses, eyeglasses, automotive, Instacart, which is, food delivery, grocery delivery, I think, automotive, and on and on. So these are the top 10. They're all very close to about the same weighting in XRT. So now let's take a look at the big boys that aren't in XRT. How have they done, and how does it compare to XRT? So let's start off here with Amazon. So the peak that Amazon had into 2021 is right here. Okay, it peaked kind of in July, and they came back and touched it almost exactly in November of 21, prior to the big 22 sell-off. It was 2.3 times its COVID crash low. And interesting how the sell-off in 22 came right on back down and almost exactly touched the COVID crash low of 81.30. Then we got the rally, but since then we've only seen a 21.2% gain through the close. Granted, there was a couple weeks that were a little bit higher here, but through this week's close, we're only 21.2% above that 21 high. Not much to say for that. Now, granted, I know Amazon's it's not a pure play retail company. I understand that. They've got AWS, the Amazon Web Services, which is a big component of their sales, but I'm not, percentage-wise, I'm not sure how big the online is. I think it's probably the biggest component, and then of course they own Whole Foods and other things. But right now, 2.8 times the COVID crash low and only a 21% gain above the 21 high. All right, so that's Amazon. What about Walmart? Look at Walmart. Into the 21 high, it had only gained 1.5 times the COVID crash low of price of 34.0. And it's interesting how in 22, the market peaked, the S&P and the Dow peaked, right there in January of 22 and sold off. Well, Walmart rallied into April, mid-April, then got hit hard in the pullback and then started to rally again and got above the 21 highs, basically fairly substantially here in the second half of 23. Although it's interesting when you draw this dashed line across the top, the 21 highs became resistance in 22 and in 23, May of 23. Once they broke above, it became support in October of 23 and into December of 23. And then it took off in 24. It just exploded higher. So over double the price of the 21 highs. Okay, over double. We're sitting at 104, actually 104.04 is the actual closing weekly price. 3.1 times the COVID crash low. So really, really turned on the jets here in the last, 15 months, 16 months or so. So let's take a look at Costco. Last but not least, Costco. So when you look back at XRT, it got 4 times the gain and did it in a year and a half. Costco got 4 times, I said 4 times the gain, 4 times the COVID crash low. Costco got to 4 times, but it's taken all the way till now to get to 4 times. Here's the 2021 high. That was 2.1 times, okay? And then it also got above that level in April, just like Walmart did. And then it's taken all the way until right here, I guess November of 23 is when it started to then take off. And it's had a pretty good rally since then. You can see it's up 87.6% above the 2021 highs in terms of where it sits as of right now. Now, not getting any divergence here at the end. I mean, when you see some significant divergence, like right between here and here, yeah, you get big sell-off that came on. We had some divergence here, didn't get much of anything. And this thing just keeps pushing. So kind of an interesting picture. It'll be interesting to see when do we start to get any kind of corrective move in here. And when do we get some, substantial divergence that plays out. So that's Costco, Walmart. We are getting some divergence in here on Walmart now. Wouldn't be surprised to see some kind of correction coming in there. Amazon, which has been struggling, it's got some divergence showing up in here also. Now, that's happened before. There's no guarantee. It's kind of like a little flag waving. It's like, hey, watch out, pay attention, watch for a price breakdown. But right now, this seems to be the laggard amongst the big boys. Okay, that's it for this video. If you felt like the video was helpful, give it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, hit that little subscriber button. If you want more of this information on a regular basis, head on over to joehenches.net. Everyone, have a great week. Talk to you on the next video.